Welcome to another episode of Fulham Chronicles. Today we have in our studio Julius and Fabian Cowdrey. Julius is a former reality television personality, singer, and founder of Safe Space. Fabian is an ex-English former professional cricketer and now founder of Safe Space. Welcome. Just for you knowing, guys, Safe Space is a place where community meets support. From life coaches to a running club, is a place where everyone feels welcome. Welcome in the studio, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, pleasure.
Exciting times.
Yes.
Exciting times. Well, Melinda, here we are again.
I
It's
know.
happening.
We're back for another episode. Yes.
How was your lovely weekend as a proud mama moment?
I'm a proud mum. My youngest daughter just graduated, so we were down celebrating.
Oh, look at her.
Wow.
I love that
Yes.
redness.
Cool.
Congratulations, Evie.
She's flying the nest out. She's out.
Oh,
She's gone.
gosh.
That is it.
Have you fully recovered in preparation for today?
Yes, I think so. Let's hope so. Yeah, I'm fully caffeinated. And Zara is very chilled and relaxed as you're just back from holiday.
Yes, you can see the tan, guys. Here we are. It's been absolutely lovely, and I'm looking forward for my next adventure. But until next adventure, should we adventure on what's coming next with these two beautiful boys?
Well, speak for yourself.
Yeah, all right.
So I didn't realise until I did some research over the weekend and sort of reading up on what you've been up to in your past, your history, your journey, and why you're kind of with us today and what we're going to be talking about. But you're twins, brothers.
Yeah.
Are you twins?
We're twins.
When I said two beautiful boys, I will take that back.
Well, it's always been a problem being the second best looking, but it's subject to
I beg your
opinion.
Do you know what?
pardon.
He used to do this. He used to introduce us, and they'd go like, "We're all twins," and he went, "Yeah, I picked the short straw."
No.
And I'd be like,
I was
"What are you
only
talking-"
joking.
Also,
though,
Fabian's the
wasn't I?
only one.
Let's be honest.
Fabian's the only one who can hold on to a relationship. So whenever I meet people and I tell them we're twins, they go, "Oh my god, really? No." They go fraternal. They're like, "Oh."
But then I also look at the parental dynamic of our mum and dad. And dad was very self-deprecating. He's an events host, after dinner speaker. His father was a legendary England cricketer.
1920, yeah? Is
he
that
was
as
born
far
in
as...
1932.
No,
but
not when he was born, but as far as your cricket...
it goes back a
The
while.
legacy.
Goes back
Yeah.
a while, and his father was the same, almost old school British mindset of not really wanting to talk about emotions or feelings, playing himself down. He wrote an autobiography called "Good Enough?" ? Because his ability was always questioned, because he was always compared to his father, but he was more than good enough. He was an English cricketer as well. But that's where I think the self-deprecation comes in, back to the point of me saying I'm the second best looking.
Oh, yeah,
but you know what? It's not necessarily true.
Fabian's taken dad's self-deprecation. I've taken mum's, which is basically continue to tell yourself that you love yourself in the mirror every morning, and you will love yourself eventually.
Yeah.
No, but
Love it. And you actually made history.
Yeah, I was the fourth member of the family to play professional cricket and the third generation in the sport. So that was pretty cool. I loved every minute growing up. It was a fascinating time for me. Dad used to hide behind trees when I was playing cricket matches, and he always,
Why?
because he didn't want me to understand the gravitas of what I was walking into, and if I really loved the game. It was, for example, pretty intense when I just turned professional. And I'd go to a game, and all of a sudden, and bear in mind, I'd never played a professional match at this point. I had queues of people.
What age?
18, first
Okay.
professional game. I
Because
had queues
of the
people
family
because
legacy and knowing.
there hadn't been a Cowdrey in the dressing room for 14 years. So people were really excited to see my name on the team
wow.
sheet, and even before I'd hit a ball at that level. So it was an interesting time, and it taught me a lot about how to manage pressure and expectation. Things that I became better at once I'd stopped playing, which is always one of those things where you look back and you think, "Oh, I wish I had some of that skill set then." But
I know,
it
but
was a
that's
great
age
time.
though as well,
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah,
it? That
exactly.
you learn,
Exactly.
you grow, and you develop.
Be
and,
real now. Was
Yeah.
it difficult?
Oh, some incredibly difficult times. Transitioning from the sport was a very difficult thing, because I always say to my clients when I talk to them about high performance and professional sport that I was either practicing playing or thinking about it. And I was just going on this roundabout, and I really had no perspective outside of the game. That's all I knew.
It hasn't said how good he was. Fabian was a freak talent. Like he said, broke dad's, grandpa's, our uncle's records at school. So it was just and like you
Congratulations
said, almost like you said you look back into this part of you that wishes that you had the mindset you do now to be able to tackle the challenges you went through, because I know it was incredibly challenging. I remember Fabian would call me up and say, I feel like just a cow in a field. I'm grazing every day. And I would used to be like, get a grip. You know,
Yeah.
I'm making nothing here. I'm working in a sports bar and grill. I'm trying to work it out, this music thing, and
Yeah.
and you've got given a car and all these things. But it's proof back then that I wasn't taught about vulnerability and what maybe poor mental health looks like. I didn't understand that. I was the classic get a grip. Come on, all boys school, and then Fabian didn't understand all these soft skills that we learned. So you have to learn so much through your 20s. I wish we learned earlier, really.
Definitely. And you came out of a different pressure
Exactly.
cooker in a
Why
sense.
not cricket?
Well, I just
start
didn't
with
have
that.
the talent Fabian had, to be honest.
Okay, interesting.
I didn't really love it.
Okay,
I really
fair enough.
enjoyed it. I thought I had to do it, and then I got into a B team when I was 13. It was the first probably Cowdrey ever to get into a B team. I did make the A's later that season, but I
picked him, I think.
cried. He had to pick
I
me.
need you to save me.
No doubt. I cried and cried and cried in the school bathroom, and I called my dad up on this old BlackBerry or whatever it was, and I was crying down the phone saying, "I've let the family down. I've let the family down." I could just hear this like echoey laugh down the phone, just laughing. It's like, "Why are you laughing, Dad? Why are you laughing?" He said, "I don't care if you're a cricketer. If anything, I don't want you to be. The pressure is obscene."
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
that's
and
amazing then. So your parents.
he said, "I would be
Yes,
happy if you did
exactly.
anything. There was nothing as long as you are happy and you have good people around you." And that was when I started to realize, there are other things.
So what did you
good
get into
parents.
first? Did you get first into TV, or did you get first into singing, or you always loved singing?
Or I always
Was he
loved
singing in the shower? Was he one of those brothers singing? And
We were both singing in all
Head,
the
shoulders.
showers. Yeah. A nightmare for mum at home.
nightmare at school. No one wanted to share, because we had those communal showers at school. Everyone said, "Oh, not the Cowdreys again."
Between 13 to 18, I never really did any singing at all because I
not
felt
this
quite
story.
embarrassed. I felt quite embarrassed because I had quite a high voice and my voice broke quite late. And I was a soprano or a treble or whatever you like to call it. And all of a sudden, my voice broke and I realised I had a little bit of a classical tone to my voice. And it got to 18 and everyone knew me as the cricket kid. It was very cliquey. Julius was in a slightly different crowd. I was in the sports crowd. And I didn't really want to embarrass myself by telling a school of adolescent males that I could crack out a bit of Pavarotti poorly, So in my final year, I thought, you know what? I'm leaving the school. I'm likely not going to see a lot of these people again. I'd like to apply for the house music competition.
wow.
So in order to do that, I had to manipulate the situation. I had to tell Julius and convince him that My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion to 140 adolescent males was a good choice with the violinist in the background. Whilst the number one at the time was Apologise by One Republic. It's too late to put that one. Yeah.
Keep going.
I had sort of...
With the Pavarotti voice.
I had this collared shirt and a couple of buttons undone and this tie loosely falling on my chest. And I was, with all my chest hair that I had then, not. And I had the light dimmers on me and I was following My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion, which was good, but it didn't quite crack it against
Have you got a
the
video?
Apologise.
No, absolutely don't have a video. And it wasn't. No. I'll tell you what. There's a lot of reasons why I actually had to sing "My Heart Will Go On." It wasn't my first choice, but Fabian won the house music that year. And
No way, I love
Do you know
it.
what?
This is great.
He was a deserved winner.
Thank you. You never said that before.
brotherly
Never said that
love.
before.
So
brotherly
cool.
I don't think I was even annoyed when you won. I mean,
Wow.
come on. Who wants "My Heart Will Go On" by by an 18-year-old boy who barely knows how to sing that sort of music?
Oh my god, cough in my cheeks. This
Oh
is
my
so
god!
funny.
I know I'm getting when your cheeks get because you smile so much. So for me, music was always my favorite thing to do. And when I got to 18, everyone was going. You start to see, people start to ask you what you want to do and what you want to. Where do you want to go? What university do you want to? What do you want to study? I didn't really like anything I was doing at school. I mean, there wasn't one thing I was passionate about when it came to the education side of things. No, I got on with it,
Yeah.
but I didn't really enjoy. I wonder if anyone really does enjoy maths or economics, but we'll get us another story. And I loved music. I loved I started to write music. I started to write and collaborate with other guys at school. And when they said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, the only thing I really enjoy and would pursue really is music." So I went to study music, a vocal degree in London, and I started performing in gigs, and no one was coming to my shows. I mean, it's not I didn't have a following. I had like 100 followers on Twitter or whatever it was back then, or Instagram, and I was writing this music and I was writing these heartfelt loves heartbreak songs, thinking I was like
Mail Adele.
think I was some sort of
Yeah.
Mail Adele.
Pouring everything
Ram,
out.
pa,
yeah.
pa, pa.
I don't know. What's the easiest thing for me to do when I play piano? I can play chords and I can try and find a nice melody. And I was writing, and I just and to be fair, I'd never really been through heartbreak, but I thought, if Adele can do it or anyone can do it, I'll do it. And all my gigs were empty. I mean, I remember going to a gig and a show, and I was performing in Essex, and Fabian, mum, dad, my friend Ben was there. And I got there really excited, and they said it's going to be a really packed out show. I thought, I've never done one of those. So, and I went there, I put my piano up, and there was mum, Fabian, dad, Ben, and 3 other people. One was the sound engineer, and one was the bartender, and there was just an old lady at the back. And she was loving it, actually. And I was about 4 songs in when...
Did you stay till the end?
20, well,
Had to drive him home.
20 from a stag do arrived, and they started chanting, down it, down it. Didn't care about the little kid in the corner singing his love song. And so I realised very quickly that the power of a personal brand. And I got asked to go on X Factor or Made in Chelsea. Now, had a friend who'd been on X Factor, said it was a terrible experience. A lot about early contracts you have to sign, that it's all really planned, it's all very TV and not about the music. And then I had a friend being like, I love this show, do you want to be on this show Made in Chelsea? And I just went with what felt more comfortable and not, it felt such a big risk because my friend had been on X Factor, said it was. So I actually said no the first season, and then I went, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I had an agent, and I said, look, we're going to release my song 7 Roads on the back of me joining Made in Chelsea. Made in Chelsea's got 1 million people watching it a night. So if I can release, and I said to the show, I said, I will only join Made in Chelsea if my first episode I'm singing in, and I'm singing my song.
Was it that you didn't feel like you belonged, or did you belong to the show later on? But at the beginning, obviously nerves and whatever. So
yeah, it's a great question. I think I'm not sure I felt like I belonged anywhere.
Okay.
And so when joining a show, there was a lot of me trying to work out who I was, what am I doing. I've never really discovered what I'm really is my thing.
Sorry to interrupt, but how old were you when you joined?
23,
So
24.
It's sort of so
Yeah,
young as
I
a
mean,
young adult.
London was very much like trying to work out what am I doing in my life.
Sorry,
you know?
were you in London at this point?
I was probably a year away from moving into London. Year and
So
a
you
half.
were alone.
Yeah, alone.
Yeah.
But I got really independent from just being in London. But it was very much about like going out partying. So there's that element, trying to make friends. And then I'm on this show, and suddenly, you know, I've got thousands of followers. People are listening to my music, and I was like, this is so weird. And then the show, I mean, it's constructed reality TV. You got to be on, like,
Yeah.
Yes,
people
of
always
course.
ask me, and that's really
Yeah.
important. The amount of people who said, actually, oh, wow, you're actually really nice.
Yes.
Oh my God, you're
I'm
actually a
surprised.
nice person.
Are you sure he's your brother?
Yeah. I said, well, thank you. I'd like to think so. But the thing is about the show is that you don't have control over the edit, and you're filming for, you know, like 2-3 hours for a 4-second clip. Sorry, 4-minute clip. And so I tell people that I'm open about that. Like you don't have any control of the edit, and there's a journey that the show want to take you on, and they tell you where to be.
Okay.
You know, everyone knows that. That's open. Like they tell you where to be. They're not following my every move. I'm not going to the gym and they're behind me walking with the camera on a you know this set. So with there's something you need to get out of it, and it's always passing on information, doing something, telling something. There's always an action. There's always that needs to be done based on whatever you're doing in each part. And to be honest, I started to quite like this fake persona that I gave myself. It was quite weird. I felt like I was an actor.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to make the show great. I actually I loved the producers. I started to love the team.
I've heard that before from loads of people.
But I just wanted I also wanted to be a great show. And then so my music sort of took a bit of a back step. And I was just like, let's make a great show. And what do I have to do to make it a great show? I've got to really get stuck in here. And whatever happens, I'm just going to go in the mix. Okay, Julius, we need you to, you know, fire things up. We need an argument in this. All right, let's go. Who needs me? And so I got really comfortable in seeing it like it was an actor and not seeing it as real life. Because at the start, I was like, oh my God, why am I in a fight here? I hate fights. But in the end, I was just like, well, this is just a part of the parcel. So I got good at that. But then it makes you start to question your reality. Makes you question like who you are. Well, this part of me is fighting against people, but this part of me loves resolution, loves emotional intelligence, loves to go deep with people.
So did you
It's like
find
the real versus the fictional.
Yeah,
Right.
I was
Yeah.
about to
I-
say, did you find the lines like starting to
That's why
to
a lot
blur?
a lot of people struggle with mental health in reality
Yes.
TV shows, and I've been
Yeah.
firsthand to see
Yes.
that. Probably about 75% of people I've filmed with struggle currently or have previously struggled with that. Like, who am I? What am I doing? Why am I continuously having to fight? People come up to you and are talking to you about a part of you that isn't you. It's very strange to live 2 parts of your life. It is 2 parts. Sorry, the real me is not the real me, the person
Yeah.
on TV.
Yeah.
It's impossible to be.
Did you see that, Fabian? Did you and your mom and your dad and the family,
Yeah,
did you try and take him out of it? Did you have the support?
I stopped watching. I stopped watching the show. I couldn't
Okay,
watch an
interesting.
episode as soon as that transition started happening because I knew what was going on. You've got trolls on Instagram, rightly or wrongly assessing him as being confrontational and rude to people. But then I understood his side of it. So I didn't like watching this fictitious image of Julius on a TV screen when I knew that he was fundamentally very different. So I stopped watching and I said, I can't watch it. It makes me too angry. But I understand why you're doing it because if it's still to promote your music, then it has a
Yeah.
place.
It's important for
and-
people to know that
but-
he's been doing this and he had the support. And,
Yeah. And I think the journey through the 20s is almost quite connected to what you experienced on the show. For me now at 31, us at 31, 20s for me were really about self-discovery, really understanding who I was. And there were times in the dressing room when I was playing sport that I used to put on a front in order to fit in more and try and create a fictitious character in order to feel more comfortable in my skin so I didn't feel left out the dynamic suited me as opposed to me trying to be myself and be comfortable with the dynamic. But I didn't necessarily have that self-confidence to be fully myself in the early 20s with a dressing room full of older people where, they're all very talented and very superior to me when I'm a young player. So I found that in the 20s happened to me in a different way. But by the end of the 20s, you sort of remember who you are. And you're prepared to accept more the boundaries that need to be in place. You go through a couple of heartbreaks. You go through some difficult situations, and you're like, well, I'm not going to sacrifice who I am for anybody. And I think when Julius came off the show, you started to return to your natural state, which
exactly,
is this
that's
loving,
my next
empathic
question.
person.
Do you regret it?
No.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Perfect.
No,
Yeah.
because
No
I needed
regrets.
this. Okay, Fabian said you hope to get to in late 20s, get to this place that you were once, or that you've learned so much who you are and what you need to be. I do believe that the 20s is that expression of just like, what do I want to do in my life? Who am I? What do I want to do? And so like Fabian went through that expression. We all had to. And for me, is it music? I'm not sure it is. I don't think I really love it anymore in the industry. Is it TV? Well, I thought I was going to be this TV reality person for the rest of my life. So I was like, I'm just going to make this show the best I can be, and I'll just follow what is needed of me. But it wasn't me. And so then I started diving into coaching and mental health and everything I've struggled with and had to be for other people. And Fabian became a coach. It was suddenly like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And I've never had that feeling.
Which one of you went first?
Fabian did.
You came first with the idea of life coaching.
Yeah.
Is it because you were more comfortable, like public speaking? Was it because you? Why?
Gosh, that's a deep question, and I think after the transition of cricket and not really understanding who I was in a similar vein to what Julius just described, not really knowing where my strengths lay outside sport, having to go on this whole self-discovery mission of releasing the attachment that I had to the family dynamic or the family business that was cricket and try and reinvent myself. I had got to COVID and I started a sports events business before that around transitioning the skills of elite athletes into the workspace, which is now connected to Safe Space. And we had lots of events and I was listening to these amazing stories and people who were very successful and also people who weren't so successful in terms of their numbers and their statistics. People who come out the game and found the same journey and same story as me. I got into coaching just before COVID hit. And then I had a bit of time at the start of COVID, obviously, to really take it more seriously and study, but I'd had the idea just before. And my thing was, I wanted firstly, selfishly, to become more self-aware. I needed to understand what was going on in my head. And what the coaching qualification gave me was I had to look at myself and I had no choice but to surrender to some of my weaknesses and be comfortable with them in order to be able to be compassionate and understanding of others around me. Gave me immense amount of gravitas in that way. But then I've always felt energy and emotion. I can feel an emotion of people very quickly, and I have done since I was a little boy. So there are sometimes I see someone for the first time, and it's not like I know exactly what's wrong with them, but I've always been able to understand the deeper route to what someone's going through prior to them necessarily having to describe it to me.
But that is an amazing skill, and I don't think enough is given to emotional intelligence.
It's an interesting one because when I was playing professional cricket, I never really explored the EQ side of it, the emotional intelligence side of it, because the idea of telling someone that I was struggling or being honest actually got me dropped once.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very
I
different.
got dropped
it
for
is
telling
But it was
them.
very different times.
Yeah,
It's
and
different
plus
times,
it's
yeah.
the receptive. You know, if he
Um,
doesn't get the information in the right way, or something goes on in their own head at that
Yeah.
time, you can be crushed.
Yeah, I was told I was mentally unable to perform the next day, and I said that's not what I'm saying. Like, so that was me expressing my vulnerability. So instantly the door comes up again, and it took me 3 or 4 years after cricket to really be able to have the confidence within myself, because I think it does take confidence within yourself to
Yeah.
be courageous. And I think there's obviously a massive issue in the world, particularly, and this is of course global across all genders. But men in particular at the moment are really struggling to open up and be vulnerable.
Yep.
And I can see why, particularly coming from a sporting background, why it's so difficult. Perhaps growing up with parents who are also not conditioned to be open. In my dad's era, when he grew up, he saw his father twice a year. He was playing cricket, and his dad was a very softly spoken man, but didn't go there with him. So why would he have the skills?
Yeah, it's just what
You know,
what you know, what
that's
the
what-
environment that he grew up
Exactly.
in.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't his fault, but we ended up getting all of our emotional conversations out the way with mum, who would open up to us about girls growing up and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, we would just go, "Don't talk to us about that." But I think there's okay. Look, so it's about repping that muscle that so many men don't do, and then because they haven't repped it when they're younger, they're so scared to do it because it's so out of the comfort
you
zone.
also sorry to interrupt, you're also conditioned not to do it.
Exactly.
So that you talk about your school and your education, sports, you know.
It
your
depends on
stiff
the
up
family.
English,
Yeah,
stiff upper
beliefs.
lip.
But very often, and I found this with friends' parents, if the man is fairly stiff upper lip, that he's not usually with a very emotional woman because that's such a clash.
Yeah.
So I have a very close friend whose parents are both they don't talk. Right, but that's strange to me because I just always assumed because mum is so emotional that all women have this incredible capacity to be able to hear and feel, where it's not the case, and it's not always the case that men can't speak and be emotional. Just as Fabian is one of the greatest listeners, I've been fortunate enough to have him. But if we didn't have mum, we wouldn't have had an outlook to be able to just say, "I'm not feeling very good at the moment. I'm struggling." We would have gone, "Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine," and
Keep
that
it
is so
in.
dangerous
Yeah.
because
Well,
and
then
that's
it's
why.
a logjam, isn't it? Because sooner or later it's going to.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
The analogy I remember, Fabian, when you started coaching, and I started listening into some of his coaching calls when we were living together during COVID, and he
Didn't know you were doing it, by the way. If any of my ex-clients are listening,
Glass.
Was he hiding behind the door?
Fabian would just be, it's like a bin, right? So if you scrunch up a thought and you throw it in that's disturbing you, and you keep throwing it in, eventually it'll overflow. I speak to
That's a really
clients.
good one.
Yeah, I speak to clients about it like it's bandwidth and how much capacity does your brain have to be able to think about all these things. So if you look at your relationship to self, relationship with others, your relationship with your work, or relationship with your health, say those are the 4 big pillars. How much is that taking up in your mind throughout the day, the week, the month? And often when someone's really anxious or stressed or out of control, it's because that is overflowing at the edges. So how do we pull back some of that and just align it 20% just to that and 15% to that? And I know it sounds on when you hear it being said, you're like, oh yeah, but how am I going to do that? Well, you look at your mind like it's a business, logically. Like, what is profiting me right now? What's not? What can I pull back? What can I focus on? And then you see people starting to breathe more because they've got that extra 10-20% for them. And then their thoughts are kinder, and then they feel better. They're sleeping better. Their skin's looking better. They're eating better, and suddenly their life is better.
Why do you both think that safe space is different than every other place that you've seen out there doing life coaching and community and belonging? And why do you think?
First and foremost, there are some obviously amazing communities around the world of people connecting with other people. You know, you just have to look at Facebook groups, for example. They're fantastic. However, the one thing that we were on a mission on when we first started is making expert coaching accessible for all. Before we thought of the power of togetherness, it was like, how do we make self-development more affordable? And then we looked, and Julius looked at this loneliness statistic. Julius can talk to you about that in a moment, but it was crazy that even people in groups or at work, in the office, were still feeling incredibly isolated with their thoughts and their feelings, regardless of the amount of people around them. So we wanted to create safe space where people could feel open to share non-judgmentally, and a place that accepts them, but also around really self-aware, really talented experts in their field, in whatever variety of self-development that they want to choose, who are trained to talk to people and make them feel comfortable in a safe space. you link the two, and you've got a marriage made in heaven. Well, we're founders, of course, we're going to believe that.
Yeah.
But some of our coaches are cost £250 an hour to work with for 1 hour. If you want to access some of those coaches, you can pay up £15 or £30 a month to access their masterclasses, connect with them.
Which I've seen is you've got Lewis Moody.
Lewis Moody.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Which is incredible. Rugby.
Yeah, it is.
Rugby performance coach now, talking about how to manage pressure, expectation. God, I could have done with him at age 17 or 18.
I even started coaching. I saw this incredible value he was giving, and it's something I've always been interested in the mind, and I've always been interested in optimizing my health. And it's always been like, how do I get better? I can get better. How do I feel better? When I was at my lowest, I was looking into happy hormones and how can I access this higher state of frequency so I can feel better? So what can I do? So I was always into that. And the cool thing about coaching, as Fabian explained to me, was it was so forward thinking, progressive, action focused. You're helping people get to A to B, but you're helping them understand themselves better, not telling them. So I was like, that's so interesting. Oh my God, why didn't I hear about coaches when I was younger? And so there was a lot of that. And we started, the reason why we set up Safe Space, and just to add to what everything Fabian said so beautifully, is we realized very quickly that coaches can't get enough clients, because we were turning away clients because they couldn't afford it. 3 figures an hour, which is every coach is 3 figures an hour. And we're finding the same thing with therapists and counselors. So people can't afford it. And you're looking at stats online where 98% of the country can't afford traditional self-development or therapies or counseling. So we're going, that's crazy. That's a crazy stat. And then we're starting to speak to coaches who can't get the client. So again, the people can't afford it. Coaches can't get enough clients. So they have to have we were having to do different side hustles and things to be able to afford to continue doing the one-on-one.
Are you still at Ride Republic?
We're still at Ride Republic.
Right.
So we were doing spin instructing. I was doing some campaigns. Fabian was playing cricket in the summer to make more money. We were having to do so many side hustles to be able to just do the one-on-one because we couldn't get enough clients, even with the followings that we have. So that was, what about the coach who has 300 followers and doesn't like Instagram? So there's a problem on both sides. And so we had really big, deep chats about this. How can we be the people to help connect the two? Almost like the Uber. When you go to Uber, someone's looking for a car, someone's got the car, right? How can we be the company that helps, that third person company that helps match people who want to level up, but people who can't necessarily afford £100, £150, £200 an hour. And so that was the big accessible piece. We're adding, hopefully, possibly 10.
You've got some amazing coaches.
We're looking to, we might be adding up to 10 coaches in September.
Amazing.
Which would be amazing, because now we want to have any type of coach. Anyone who helps you level up and is certified and has the ability, it can join a Safe Space. So it's like now we have this place you can go to, not just the 6 core we started with. It can be breathwork, it can be yoga, it can be cold therapy, it can be business, it can be all these things.
Yeah.
That's what I like when I looked at it. It's like everything from gut health to yoga to, which is fantastic.
We started Safe Space. There were 3 steps. Started Safe Space with focus groups of 10. They were amazing, but how did we scale that? It was quite a difficult thing to. We had thousands of coaches with groups of 10, fantastic, but we were a startup. We needed to work out a way to pivot. We then moved to another web app option, and we had lots of different masterclasses being featured every month on a variety of things. But our members were only signing up for maybe 1 or 2 of those. So our attendance across the board wasn't good enough. So we then moved WhatsApp to Safe Space groups, to WhatsApp groups on Safe Space, where people who come in, consumers, employees, now have the autonomy over what they decide to join, as opposed to being told, this is what we have. So our whole marketing message changed, and that's when we started to see success. And for companies, it's the same. We're saying we want your employees to make decisions for themselves as to what works best for them, and give them the power back over their self-development and their mindset and their mental health. With companies as well, obviously we listen to them and we tailor our whole product to them, and we suggest coaches for them who they can pick out of our group of coaches to bring in for masterclasses and workshops. And the idea eventually is to take this to an app where it becomes essentially the right move of self-development, where people in your area can be accessed and rated by thousands of consumers on how good their community is, so people can have social proof over who is the best possible coach for them within their area, within their age bracket. So that's where we want to take it.
So going back to your love of music, my question to you, Julius, is Desert Island Discs, top 3. If you have to only pick 3 tracks, you can't pick your own. What would you take? Or your
Okay.
top 3 all-time
very excited
favourite
about
tunes,
this.
or ones
Does it
that
have to
you
be in order? 3, 2, 1.
No,
Okay.
not even. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever comes in your head.
Okay. Yeah. Feels like I'm falling in love. Coldplay. Their
Oh,
new song
okay.
because I
Love
can't
it.
stop listening to it, and I love Coldplay, and
Good.
I can't not take Coldplay with me after seeing them live, especially.
Mhm.
Or I'd go Everglow with Coldplay, but I'm just loving that song at the moment. It's all coming back to me now. Meatloaf.
Oh,
A tune.
wow.
That
yeah, that is a
is-
tune.
I
I,
think
love
that
that,
is a
album.
tune, and I don't-
I didn't expect you to pick that.
And this is
smirk on his face.
when Fabian comes and performs it. Absolutely.
Well, you
that-
nearly got me there.
That I think is one of the greatest songs of all time. I love it so much. And then I grew up really loving Elton John. So I'd probably say Your Song by Elton John. Or sorry seems to be the hardest word because Mum used to sing that to us when we were in the bath. When we were in bed.
Oh, Chris.
So it's very
Yeah.
British there. I know Meatloaf.
Now I'm going to ask you my
Yes,
question.
sure.
Fabian. So obviously cricket was your first love. Sorry, Dominic, but no, your first your first love.
Sorry,
and
Dominic,
Yeah, you know. Do you have life coaching at heart as you had cricket?
I would say that one can't replace the other. They're two very different experiences. I think coaching gives me a sense of excitement for the future, and I feel like the purpose of driving something like Safe Space with Julius is something that we want to create a legacy around. So therefore, life coaching and the power of it, because I also think that people need to understand more about what coaching is and how it's forward thinking and solution focused, and getting people from one side of the channel to the other and allowing them to steer through difficult waters. And we help with that journey. Coaches are trained to do that. The more understanding that comes around coaching and what we're trying to do, I think the impact could be on a global scale. So therefore, I think they're very different, but it absolutely gives me purpose in other ways, definitely. The importance for us is collaboration as much as it is for you guys. So
Yeah,
it's an
that's
exciting
exciting.
time.
So watch this
Yeah.
space.
Yeah,
I
watch
love
this
that.
space.
Yeah, which is Safe Space.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch this safe
Oh.
space.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much for
thank
coming
you.
in, both of you, and really enjoyed talking.
I hope
to
we made
both.
you feel both welcome, and I hope next time you're going to be guests here at Fulham Chronicles, you're gonna be coming with bigger news and
some
you know,
updates.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think everybody would look forward to hearing how this started, where it's going, and ta-da!
I can't wait to tell you all about it.
Thanks, guys. Loved it.
Oh,
Yeah, thank
pleasure,
you.
pleasure. So we must say a huge thank you to our sponsor, Archie Pango, and also to VoxPod in this incredible studio right here in the heart of Fulham. So yeah, thank you very much. Have a great rest
Thank you
of the
so
day.
much. Have a lovely day.